If a bomb had gone off, there wouldn't be as many victims.
You wouldn't expect a doctor to harm anyone, right? So what happens when a doctor becomes a serial killer? Here's 3 of the most bloodthirsty doctors in history. Harold Shipman, also known as the Death Doctor, was suspected of killing patients for more than 25 years. He was a beloved member of the community, but some noticed a high death rate among his patients.
One night we had 3 deaths. We just went from room to room, and the patient had died.
In June 1998, Shipman was the last person to see Kathleen Grundy alive. He recorded her cause of death as old age, but there were suspicions around her will. Kathleen left her house and almost £400,000 to Shipman of all people, excluding her own children. Kathleen's daughter reported Shipman and he was arrested. However, his patients refused to believe he'd harm anyone.
It was impossible to think that my doctor, who I trusted in and confided in, could be doing something so terrible.
The police dug up Kathleen's body, discovering enough morphine in her for a deadly overdose. This attracted media attention, and more of Shipman's victims began to appear.
That son of a gun killed my father on Christmas Eve.
But nobody could have predicted the huge number of reports.
The figure of 215 killings may not represent the true total.
Shipman lethally drugged his patients and edited their medical histories. He denied this, but the evidence piled up against him, and he broke down.
If you'd like to look at that, just for the benefit of the tape, Dr. Shipman's eyes are closed, and he didn't look at the photograph at all.
Shipman was sentenced to life imprisonment, and years later, he hung himself.
I don't think anybody even now can fully appreciate how horrible this man was.
German invasion of France in World War II saw one man take advantage of Nazi escapees by posing as an undercover ally.
France was in a state of panic and chaos.
As French Jews were sent to death camps, their only hope of escape lay with the French resistance.
What came about was the creation of so-called escape networks.
Marcel Petiot, a doctor who'd enriched himself by offering illegal abortions and selling narcotics, had planned a scheme. For 25,000 francs, he'd claim to provide false papers and vaccinations and take escapees to a safe house where they'd be smuggled safely to Spain and then to a sanctuary in Argentina. Posing as a resistance fighter, Petiot earned the trust of many Jews. Using cyanide to kill and keeping the escapees' money, he was eventually arrested, but stuck to his cover story instead of confessing and was tortured by Nazi officers for months.
Genuine resistance who were in prison with him said that he was the bravest person they had ever seen, that he taunted the Germans, he ridiculed them, he laughed at them. They were in awe of his courage and dedication, and they believed that he was genuinely a resistant.
Released to be monitored from the outside, Petiot tried disposing of the bodies by burning and dissolving them with quicklime, but it was messy, and he lost interest before leaving. However, he forgot to turn the ovens off. Neighbors called the police about a foul smell, and investigations found ash, quicklime, and body parts.
Inside the boiler, they could see a human head.
When the war had ended, Petiot was arrested again. His story didn't work this time.
Petiot was accused of 27 murders. He claimed that he had killed 63 people, but he said his were all justifiable homicides.
And he was sentenced to death by guillotine. This final story is of America's first ever serial killers from 1890s Chicago. Medical student Herman Webster Mudgett was fascinated with corpses.
Mudgett was able to see people's bodies as a product that he could make money out of.
Tuition was expensive, and he found he could afford it by digging up graves and selling the bodies to his school for dissection. He then wanted to insure his own life, steal a corpse from the school to fake his death, and cash the insurance. However, finding a corpse to pass as himself was difficult.
A freshly killed corpse would be much better.
Luring his friend to a hotel, he poisoned him, dressed him in his clothes, added his identity papers, and dumped the body to be found by the insurance company. The scam was a success.
You can see readily that the formulation of serial killer patterns have taken place in his mind.
With his new fortune, he went as H.H. Holmes. He purchased and turned a building in Chicago into a hotel. Here, he began using chloroform to kill, as it made the deaths look natural. He created a mechanism inside his building building using trap doors to transport bodies and created makeshift gas chambers. Police investigated Holmes for money fraud and saw packages of body parts. He fooled them with a fake story and began destroying his death factory by burning it and then fleeing. However, he tried pulling one last scam.
Holmes now adapted his luggage trunk into a portable gas chamber.
He killed his Coleman and 3 of his children using this chamber. He plotted to kill the entire family, but was caught by a detective hired by the insurance company. He confessed to 27 murders, but clues suggest up to 200 had possibly died. Holmes showed no remorse.
To me, that is the best definition of evil.
Thank you for watching.